Welcome to season 2
of the Coco Lesa podcast.
It's real hip hop music from the soul, y'all.
From the soul. It always start with loving, don't it? That we always end up fighting, but we could fall off long as we get back to riding, homie. You the only one I see.
What's going on, family? Kia ora whanau.
Hi guys, welcome back to another episode.
So, I want to start this one off with a big thank you, major shout out to the Quito Island boys. So much love for my Usos, like really.
Yeah, that was dope. We came out of the episode feeling really good, like we had a good collab.
Right, but not even just how much we enjoyed sharing time, sharing shows, but so happy that podcasting has brought us together, that we know each other now, and that we're sharing this space together, you know what I mean? As Islanders is a very good, very dope, very beautiful feeling. Also on top of that, for anybody who hasn't, we're doing a lot of dope, amazing things right now, right? Would love for you guys to check us out on IG. We'll link all of the Twitters for those of us who don't know us from Twitter. But we're putting out some good stuff. We really want everybody to see it. As per our conversation, we're working on getting merchandise done now.
Yeah.
And then just my funny little toss out before we jump into this episode. So I understand and accept it that my wife is never going to learn Tongan, especially since she has such strong feelings because of my pride, and you know what I mean.
No, don't even.
So I have committed
like
to learning Samoan. So that's pretty funny. But my Tongan still keeps catching me because my T's are still D's, but I'm working on it. So that's my funny little call out before we jump into this.
Yeah, not so much funny as it is incorrect and factual.
Oh, enlighten.
What do you mean enlighten?
Alright, now I'm not going to put you on the spot. Anyway, so this episode is, this is going to be, for me, I think I've said it already a little online, this is going to be like one of the most personal episodes I've ever done. And it's so funny because way before something popped up on Facebook, I've been determined to do this episode all week based off the conversation that we started having as a family. And then I saw a question on Facebook this morning that kind of led into it, which is so funny. And the question was from my whānau, and it was somebody made a Facebook post, and it was, when did the patch become more important than the father? Yeah. And that ties so heavy into today's conversation.
Do they call it patch here?
No, it's different. It's like your colors or shit like that. I guess it depends. So
motorcycle gangs, maybe?
Right, motorcycle gangs have patches. But so we're talking about community, and we're talking about family in all aspects, right? Because I don't think we have different ideas of perceptions of what those mean to us and what they're about. But I'm going to answer that question because I don't know if a lot of people know the answer to that question, but I do. And the reason that this is such a personal episode for me is because we share our views, but there's a lot of things that I don't put out there because my views are very different from most people's views, and I understand things that I need to be respectful on, or just things that sound off the wall, because I'm more head than heart when it comes to a lot of things.
A little bit, yes.
And I'm like, results, this is what needs to happen, you know. So when you're looking at the bigger picture, for me, feelings just get in the way. And a lot of my views are based. Sorry, so we got invaded real quick. So a lot of my views are based on that. But the way I came up, my views, my morality is different. I'm going to tell you guys the basis for my views and my morality right now. Anything that's good for the family is good, and anything that's bad for the family is bad. Actually, I'm going to ask you some questions because I don't want this to just be me. Right? What would you say is the most important thing in the world to me?
The most important thing in the world to you? Strength. Power, family. So like power and strength kind of encompass like there's an umbrella. So a lot of things fall under.
Right. A conversation that she and I were having this week, right? just going over some of the realities of life. And this is a truth that you learn very fast when you're out of that safety bubble, right? And we're talking about privilege. That's what the safety bubble is. A lot of people grow up in the safety bubble. And this is something even I encountered with my students. And so people speak from a place of privilege, right? And I'll give you an example, and I don't want to make this sound like people don't deserve better or more. So we have issues in Aotearoa, yeah? And things that need to be worked on. But a lot of my students who came from Samoa and Tonga and places like that, you get adjusted to that comfortability really quick. And so a lot of people have complaints and they think Aotearoa is so bad. And then I started educating them on global affairs. And I started showing them places like the Congo and the Sudan, places where you're getting your feet cupped off and acid thrown in your face, and you have to buy petrol for your car from a little boy at a stand who sells it in a bottle and pours it directly into the, you know what I mean? And
that's in comparison, though.
Right, and I'm not playing Pain Olympics, right? But I'm saying even you, sometimes you have conversations. The reason we started this conversation is because you were having the conversation based on what the world should be and how people should behave, and I was having the conversation based on what the world is. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I was having the conversation based on morally, so one, I'm just going to give an example. In New Zealand, just in terms of what you're talking about, comfortability and sense of privilege. In New Zealand, I never used to lock my doors.
Which is something I always got super mad at you for. Yeah, you got
super mad. You're like, why the F don't you lock your door? Like,
why don't you lock your door? Why do you answer the door when you don't know who's coming? Why don't you...
And it used to be like, well, like, we're in a safe neighborhood. Like, even though, like, I've never been robbed in my neighborhood. The only time we've ever had experience like this was in white neighborhoods. Like, and then we moved here to America.
Yeah.
And I lock my doors all the time now.
Okay.
But that's not because, like, I'm, like, scared but I just...
You're more aware.
Being here, I've seen the difference in how people, like, react and stuff. In New Zealand, I knew that my neighbors, if something happened, my neighbors would come out. They would come out, they'd be like, but here, people mind their business. So I don't know if I can trust my neighbor. I don't know, like, how... Yeah.
I got you. Okay. So, and now I'm going to explain where the privilege comes from. So I had a conversation once when I was living in Australia, because I'm a military man. I come from a military family. You know what I mean? Like, this is a part of who I am. I'm very much the soldier. You can hear it in my book and my views and my beliefs. And for a long time I was very, sometimes me and civilians, I got a little rough, right? So I was talking to a coworker and she was like, oh, you gun nuts and you army people and da. And she was very liberal. And something I said to her that she accepted very readily, and I said, yes, I may be all of those things you said, but me being those things is what affords you the privilege to be all of the things that you are.
Which I disagree with.
All right. Well, no, that's fair. And she was like, fair, right? And you can agree or disagree, and I would love to hear your points on why you disagree. But if you live in a country with a big-ass military and that provides the safety for you to do and speak and have these views... It's the same thing for me, and this is why we're talking about community.
New Zealand doesn't have a big military.
It doesn't, but New Zealand has a lot of friends with big militaries, and it's very far from a lot of the damage. So, if no one knows... Listen, it's like...
America did not need to have the military.
Okay, listen, we'll come back to that. But it's the same thing as if you have 7 big-ass, giant fucking brothers, and people are scared of your brothers, and so you pop shit whenever you want, because you think you're bad, but actually people are scared of your brothers. That's the same principle that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You get to live wild and free and in that safety because of the protection of the family. And that's the conversation we're having. So why does community matter? What are people looking for? What do you get from being a part of a community or a family? And why do some instances people choose the patch over the funnel, right? And so I was having this conversation, and something that I take a lot of pride in, is something that I do in life, and something that I'm able to help people with, is understand purpose, right? Individual purpose, their purpose, right? And I was talking to one of my students, and I was explaining why people patch and why people join gangs, and it's because some people don't belong to anything. And I'm not talking about a family. Some people don't belong to anything. Some people don't come from anything. They don't have any connections. They don't have any purpose. And when you don't have those things, gangs, military organizations, I'm talking about police officers too, fraternities, give people that sense of purpose. This is the same reason people become so actively and so heavily a part of the church, and even they don't understand that, right? And so all of these different organizations do this. It doesn't matter if it's Mormons, Christians, police officers, soldiers, gangs. It's community, it's purpose, it's fellowship. And on top of that, it's safety and it's protection, right? No matter how big or strong or bad you are as an individual, 10 weak motherfuckers can take you down. Especially if they get you wrong, you know what I mean? Nothing makes you feel more powerless than getting into a situation where you understand how protected you aren't, how safe you aren't. And so people are very comfortable making bold statements because they live inside the lines. They call the police and they can, you know what I mean? And there are laws and they follow those, and they think other people are supposed to too.
So what you're saying is the patch is important because it provides a sense of community to a few people?
Well, it's more than that. No, it's more than that. And I feel like I wish we would have had this talk when we were fresh in it, right? But it's deeper than that. So here's an example. Something that the Mormons, for me, in my mind, do better than anyone else, right? And I'm talking about even other aspects of Christianity, other religions. There are others that do close, but Mormons
they make
fellowship.
You,
when you're a Mormon, right? Even when you live in somebody else's community, you still live in your community. Like you get what I mean? Like you're an American, but you're an American Mormon. It's as deep and it's as real as being a race or a culture. And the reason that's so mind-blowing to me is because they do it so well, and there are so many of us that are Mormon. Why haven't we learned to adopt that into our own communities?
I feel like that is why they have high conversion rates. Because when you're like you
feel like you belong.
They go out of their way to make you feel like you belong. Like they have like so many activities for you to like attend and like.
But not even just that, right? If you're a Mormon, you can get a job with other Mormons. If you're a Mormon, there are events, there's food, there's so many different things to keep that community safe, protected, fed, educated, employed, right?
Which is partly why I
and as Pacifica, these are things that we should adopt as minorities, but that's what Mormons do well. I'm going to give you a story, right? There's a town in Mexico that's really close to the border of America. And when you live on the border of America and Mexico, that line blends on which you're in, right? So in Mexico, the cartels are God. The cartels are king. They don't answer to the police, right?
They are the police sometimes.
They don't, right? They don't answer to the military. They fight the military. They don't answer to anybody. And there was a Mormon community, and it was pretty big because Mormons make babies, right? So one of the elders, one of the senior men, one of the very important figures in the community, was murdered by the cartel because they were trying to extort them. And the community went to the cops, they went to their town, and they got no help. And then this happened a second time. I'm sorry, I'm going to be kind of vulgar this episode, guys. It happened a second time, and the cartel came in and they killed the second person. And you know what the Mormons did the second time?
What?
They said, fuck all that hood shit you're talking. Come here again. And they went and they bought military surplus guns, rifles, machine guns, bulletproof vests, all the high-grade gear and weaponry that they could to compete with the cartel. And when the cartel came back a third time, that situation went very differently. They've organized so well and so actively that they patrol their community. They go out and watch to make sure and stop vehicles to make sure the cartel doesn't come in and out of their town. Because even though they moved into a town that's a part of another country and somebody else's government, it's their town. It's their community. They own the homes, they own the stores, they own the schools. So why shouldn't they be their own police?
You know, that sounds very Jewish.
Right. So a lot of people do this, and that's the point. Lots of people do this, but this and that is why people patch. If you're a badass, but you're a badass by yourself,
I get it.
and somebody comes to your house and they fuck with you, then they fuck with you. But if you're patched and you're a mongrel, and somebody comes to your house and they fuck with you, they fuck with your family. And your family is 50,000 strong. So you tell me what kind of conversation you want to have with me when my family is 50,000 strong.
Yeah. But, yeah.
People, something that everybody wants in life, and this is the core of the conversation, something that everybody wants in life, people want community.
Yeah,
they
that's
want fellowship. They want brotherhood. They want love. They want to feel safe. They want to feel connected, right? And going back into the conversation with my student, she said, okay, well, so we had that talk, and she said, okay, so I get why people who don't have a family patch now, but my brother is patched and we have a big ass family.
But
so
just because you have a family doesn't mean you feel like you belong.
And this is something
mean you like.
Right. Just because you have a family doesn't mean you feel like you belong. It doesn't mean you're accepted, right? Mm-hmm. It's something deeper, conversation that we started, coming from a family doesn't mean you feel like you have purpose.
Yeah.
This is why so many families are a part of the church, because the church gives them purpose.
Yeah. It gives, yeah.
And then if you can share that with your family, then it made us stronger and it grew our family. Everybody's looking for that same connection. And so it's the same thing. Being a cop is the same thing as being a patched. People become cops. You have a very small amount of people that become cops because they want to do good and service the community. But you have a lot of people that become cops because they want to feel strong.
Facts.
They want to feel powerful.
Yeah.
They want to have control. Right? And then on top of it, now they got all these brothers and sisters that wear blue. Right? Where do cops go? They go to cop bars. They go to cop balls and cop events. There's so many things in this world from so many groups to make people feel a part of and to give them place and purpose.
So how do you think Al Pacifica people do it?
No, you need to be closer to them.
So how do you think
So we do it in a lot of ways, right? The thing that has jammed up the conversation for us as Pacifica.
What are some positives to our community?
No. We have is colonization, right? And the thing I'll say about that is, even what I just said about the Mormons, I'm not praising any one group, because everybody does it differently. Everybody has things that they do well, and some people have things that they do poorly, right?
Yeah.
So for us, the way that we do community is really dope in some ways, because a lot of it helps us hold on to culture, right?
Yeah.
So for cookies, they have wakama, right?
Yeah.
Oh, or even obviously if you're Maori, yeah, you know, we have kapahaka and things like that, and these groups become family. The competition is life, and not only are you holding on to and maintaining culture, you know what I mean, but now you're building that up, right? And then we have some of us who are fortunate, like your mom is very deep into the intricacies of Samoan culture. Yeah. She understands, you know what I mean? And so when that's your family and that's something we do, it's dope. And those are the ways that we hold on to culture. Another thing that's become a part of that because of colonization, sadly, sport and football, very big. You know what I mean? Also, church.
Yeah.
A conversation that your mother's had with you multiple times is when it comes to church and religion and not practicing Christianity is you should know better because you're Samoan.
Yeah.
And so we've gotten to this place via colonization where Christianity is supposed to be synonymous with who we are as a people, you know? And that's rough because you're taking somebody else's bag to find community in you. And part of decolonizing, we need to step away from that but still maintain the fellowship, the community, and the brotherhood, right? And so, the other reason that this is a personal conversation for me is because with my love of strength and power, I believe in family, right? I figured out my avenue and my reason for existence a long time ago, right? What matters to me most in the world is strength and power. Why? Because the thing I desire most is freedom, right? Understanding that no one can truly be powerful or free alone. Well, how do I get more of that, right? So you have two options at that point. You can make your own, or you can become a part of somebody else's. Never in my life have I ever desired to be a part of somebody else's anything, right? And so I knew that I would have to build all of these things that I wanted. And it's so funny because one of my older sisters, so many people don't understand who I am, what I'm about, or what I believe in. And I mean, even
that
the
was
people,
like in the beginning for me. I was like, this is a bit confusing. Like,
even the people closest to me that I've spent years of my life with don't get and understand me. They think they do, but they understand wrong. But she really got it, right? It was me, one of my older sisters, and one of our good friends. And we were sitting together in a bar, and I was explaining my beliefs and what I was working towards. And the reason she understood is because she's an Israelite, and she was like, this is what you belong to. This is what you come from. Why would you want, you know? And at the end of the conversation, she said, oh, he's trying to create his own tribe. And she gave me a little salute, like, I get that. And she, in those words, she understood more than anybody's ever understood what I'm doing. So many people, all they know is other people's groups and other people's systems. But all of these groups came from someone that said, I need my own.
yeah.
I need to be with people who think like I think and feel like I feel and believe like I believe. So even when it comes to being patched, you know, most people who are patched are from a certain demographic, but that doesn't mean you fit in with the rest of your demographic, right? You know, like, all right, well, my family's been this for generations, but my family's been poor for generations. My family's been on the dole for generations. People don't respect me. They don't want to give me a job. I don't want that. Fuck it. Even if I need to steal, I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
And I want to be with people I want it like I want it. And so it builds, and now I've got this community where no one tells us what to do.
I think there are all different types of communities.
There are.
Even some people create communities unknowingly.
Correct.
They have one thing now that we have like technology and stuff is like social
Online communities,
and
yes.
sometimes these ones can be very rough and gatekeeperish in like the way they're almost like cliques. I don't know if they're
All communities can go in that direction. And this is why I said there's negative and positives, because so many things make up a community and how it runs. Your leadership, the tone of the people that are allowed in and out, and what becomes acceptable. And it doesn't matter if it's online, in person. People, again, it comes down to what they're looking for, that fellowship, that brotherhood. And the thing that's rough about that, when it's a created family and not a blood family, there's so many rough aspects. Blood families have a lot of rough things, but
as well as
created families, right? When it's a created family, it's very hard to grow because people don't want new people into that space. These are the people I know. These are the people that I trust. We've built this and had these experiences together. Who are you to come in and steal the people I love from me? You have less of that when it's a blood family. But blood families are so much more rigid, so much more conservative, and there's a lot of things that you get stuck with. There's the merit to building. Well, that can happen. You know what? That can happen in a blood family too. Because not everybody's good with who you marry. Not everybody's good with your kids. You know what I mean? And blood families are harder to get out of because you can't pick. You get what you get. And you're supposed to accept those. But with built families, you can say, you don't belong here. Or I don't belong here. I don't want to be a part of this, you know?
But you know what's funny is just I'm thinking about Umbrella Academy. and pretty much what he tried to create. So I don't know if many people have started watching Umbrella Academy, but it's on Netflix, and it's about
a man who adopted all of these special children.
Yeah, he's like this billionaire that's adopted all these children with powers. And he's trying to create kind of like a team. Like he's trying to create... He's trying
organization.
He's trying to make them into well-oiled...
machine.
Cogs,
Yeah.
But the thing... It's just... That's the thing that I feel happens a lot in Pacifica communities, that when you try to push them into
things that aren't right for them.
Yeah, it kind of backfires on you, and
this is something even we deal with, and I deal with, and things that we struggle with, because again, I've studied organizations, communities. I've studied these things all my life to understand what works and what doesn't work. But I'm also I have a very dynamic personality, and so the thing that's rough for me is acceptance, right? Mm-hmm. Like, do you have to be what I want you to be? Uh-huh. No. But is the investment the same? Mm-hmm. No. And that's what I need to work on, because as a father and the head of a family and multiple families, I can't leave people out because they don't serve my purpose. But the thing that's rough about that is, as a community leader, I have a responsibility to make sure certain things are happening. I have to make sure we're staying healthy, we're staying strong. I have to make sure we're growing. I have to make sure we're advancing. I have to keep the view of the macro. And for those of you who don't know, the macro is the big picture, right? But this is why a community and a family is made up of multiple parts, because when all you keep track of is the macro, you can lose the micro, the personal interactions. And that's what happened with the father to me in Umbrella Academy. He was so focused on the big picture, he didn't have time for the small picture, so things fell apart. And this is why you need... So one of the best ways I heard it, Depeche Mode, the music, right? He became the head of a faith. But the reason the faith needed to grow is because he needed help. He needed help because he couldn't be all things. He was good at what he was good at. He could gain some new skills, but he was never going to be the perfect people person. Or a community fills in those gaps. People fill all types of roles. So no one has to be good at everything or perfect at everything, because we absorb and carry the load. This is what a clan is. The beauty of a clan, which is a different type of family and community, is that we're not bound by blood. And it's not this rigid, you owe us because of what you were born to. We're bound and tied together by experience and endurance of the same suffering and same sacrifices. And we have built this connection and this bond and this fraternity over dedication and devotion. Like you said, the saying that became one of my favorites when you corrected it in a previous episode, the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb.
Yeah. And I think, I'm just thinking about what you're saying now, and I think in a lot of ways that applies to Pacifica culture. But also what I'm thinking of is like communities within communities. Mm-hmm. It's like, but especially so because we're minorities. So our community isn't like massive. Like we have, it's not like.
But that's why I called out the Mormons, because to Mormon communities, does size matter?
Not really.
No. Listen, I'll say it all the time jokingly, Mormon churches are the most hidden place on the world. The only way you know how to find them is if you're Mormon. Not talking about the temple, right? I'm talking about your tabernacle, your church. Like,
I know driving around here, I haven't seen a single one. I'm like, where are all the Mormons?
But there's tons of Mormons, right? Because we know, you just drive down the street, you turn to the back.
Yeah, it's like, it's so
but size doesn't matter because they understand how to congregate, how to find each other, how to share that fellowship. You know what I mean? Even me, when I would flag down elders. Hey, how you doing, elder? Can you tell me where this is?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, what I think is important for us, it is super important to hold on to who we are.
Yeah.
But something that I've done and do all my life is it's also very important to learn from people who are doing what you do and who do what you do better, so that you can adopt those things into your own practices and improve and strengthen your community. Your pride should never be so strong that you can't learn new things or gain improvement and wisdom from new places.
I also think it's very important for Pacifica, just going back to what I was saying about communities within communities. It's like just this whole conversation on Twitter this past week about like what it is, the Black experience within the Pacific. It's
and
like,
what's okay to say and what's okay to not say. And,
exactly. Not even just like, so that's a small community within a bigger community, like the and then there's also like the gay community within. It's like intersections within intersections. It's like you're minorities of minorities of minorities. Like,
and there's not always acceptance in the community. Something that we have, and I'm talking all of us. I'm talking. I'll just leave it to people. I won't target our people. Go ahead. That's a phone call. There's a lot of vindictiveness in our community, where you only get to be in and be accepted as a part of the community if you follow these rules or practice these laws or do these things. For it's about power.
yeah.
It makes people feel powerful to be able to deny others what they need and what they crave. You want to be a part of. You want to feel welcome. Well, if you don't practice like I practice or go by my rules, then I will steal this fellowship, this community from you. And this goes back
And
to
it's very
even parents do that. You don't follow my rules, well, I'm going to kick you out of the house. You don't have a family anymore because this is my family.
yeah.
It's that stick. So people use, and even that's part of the clickiness. That whole Mean Girls Regina George thing. You want friends. You want to be accepted. You want to be loved. Well, I run this.
Yeah.
You follow my rules or you don't get my love.
And that's what creates friction for me, especially when I think about my daughters and their relationship, what their relationship will be with the Pacifica community, and not even just with the Black community also.
Yeah.
And myself as well, like being a woman in the Pacifica community, like it's hard to stay in both and still feel like yourself.
Right. And so someone that I work with is a woman of color, right? And something that she said, and I couldn't really slam her for, is we don't do well, and she's a Spanish woman, she's a Latin American woman. She said we don't do well as practicing unity as a people. So we say all of these things and act like all of these situations are supposed to be a certain way, and then we don't support each other and we don't stick together. So how do we slam other people for the way that they treat us and we can't treat each other properly?
Yeah.
You know, and for me, that's why I work so hard to create what I'm trying to create, because I want unity. I want strength. You know what I mean? I want connection and purpose.
Yeah.
I want the people of my community to always be tied together beyond race, and you know, like skin folk is not always kinfolk, and we've told that story, but that story needs to change. And rather than just talking about it, we need to actively be changing it, you know? There was something else I was going to toss in there, and I don't even remember what it was, but it tied into this. But I don't know. Yeah, community is a very complex thing, but it is what everybody is looking for. And there's a lack of understanding, because people will say, well, I'm a part of the church. Why can't you be a part of the church? Because that community didn't speak to you.
Yeah, it's not for me.
You have different needs and different desires, and so you can't be mad at your brother for being patched and you're in the church every day because it seems different to you, but it's the same thing. You guys were both looking for the same thing, but you needed it in different ways.
Yeah.
And even
whether the way in which you found it and how you found it was healthy or not, it's still what you needed.
And this is not to take away from the funnel or the family, right? But how do you want your siblings or your significant others to take pride in the family? What connection does the family have? What bond does the family have? How healthy is that connection and bond?
Yeah.
Are you together for good things, or only together for bad things? How do you support each other? How do you make each other feel? Okay? And when we talk about the big topics that affect us, like, people preach loyalty to family over everything. But if my parents always in my pockets, you know what I mean? And my brother molested me, but we don't talk about those things, and I'm still supposed to be loyal to the family first. How does that match up?
It's very complex.
And that's a conversation that I used to get in arguments about and bump heads with, because I used to tell people all the time, family over everything. Loyalty to your family first. And then I had friends that came from toxic, messed up families,
Like me, I never understood.
where they suffered abuse in so many ways, and they were like, look at how my family has destroyed me, what they've made me and done to me. So you really believe that I'm a bad person because I'm not loyal to these people?
Yeah, I never understood. That was like me growing up, just being in a brown family. I never understood how white people could be like. It was mostly white people that I grew up with, so I never understood how they could be like talking all this about their mom. Like, I'm like,
and that's why I had to learn to expand on my views and explain better. Because something that I say very heavily, and I've mentioned in other episodes, is that I don't believe in unconditional love. I think all love should be conditional. I think we should always be held responsible to each other for the way we treat each other and the bond and the connection that we share. You're not entitled to treat me bad or poorly or abuse me because we share blood. And so when we hold each other responsible in conditional love, I believe that we create a better quality of environment in our families and amongst our families. If you want to be my brother, then truly be my brother, and I will be your brother. We will support and uplift each other. We will protect each other. If you want to be my sister, be my sister. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it, you know. But I think the key points that I wanted to take away from this and that I have with this conversation is that we are all looking for the same thing. And that is the purpose of family and community. We're looking for safety. We're looking for fellowship. We're looking for love. We're looking for protection. But we're looking for people that understand us.
Yeah.
And get us and care about us for who we are. You know, and can accept us for who we are and help us get to where we need to be. People that can help us grow and feel purposeful and feel like we matter. But the thing that we have to understand is that the way we go about that is going to be different for everyone. And what we need from that situation is different for everyone. You know?
And the communities change.
They do. And we need to talk about these things too. Because you can't be mad at someone for getting what they needed when you weren't providing. Yeah. Just because you think you're providing something someone needs does not make it the case. And that's why we need to have these conversations. And so if the question is, why did my cousin feel the need to patch? How often did you speak to him? How much time did you guys actually spend together? How much did you actually know about him? But I bet you all of his brothers know what matters in his life. I bet you he's at socials with them quite frequently. You know what I mean? It's like me when I first left the country. People were like, one of my best friends at the time, I told her, I hung out with her, I said, listen, I'm moving. And she said, you can't move, you can't leave. And I said, why not? And she said, you're going to be too far away. I said, I've seen you twice in the last 6 months. Yeah. How does it matter?
Facts, right?
People get up in arms about things when you bring it to their attention. But if you don't mention, they're very happy to live with it every day. The people that I want to talk to every day, I talk to every day. That's my community. You know?
Oh, you live with me every day.
No, I know, but still, you know what I mean? So, we can't be angry at the choices people make when we haven't taken the time to understand their reasons.
Yeah.
And also, again, I think that's one of the main parts of it. How can you be mad at somebody for getting what they need when it wasn't being provided anywhere else.
I think that would be a good question to pose to y'all.
Yeah,
What
for
are
sure.
your communities? How did you find your communities?
For a lot, listen, they're Jack Mormons. This is why I know I've been on Mormons a lot with this, but patches too. Like for me,
You trying to reconvert?
no, not at all. But for me, like one of the organizations that I idolize the most in the world is the Yakuza. I have a very so I'm gonna make a public statement. Another reason it took so long for me to do this episode is because, to quote 50 Cent, I am not gang, I do not gangbang, right? And also, to quote Hove, like, I don't be on the gram going ham, giving information to the poor. That's all spam. Like, at this generation, and telling on yourself and incriminating yourself is wild to me. That's just not where I come from. And so, I don't publicly claim some of the things that I love because they would put me in a negative light, and that's just not what my platform is built on. But I will say I do understand why people are a part of organizations. And one organization that I have admiration for is the Yakuza. Are there ugly things that go on in these communities? Yes. But what they are and how they do it, the Yakuza have such a strong presence in Japanese communities. They are frontline when relief disaster comes. Like, the Yakuza version of a patch is a clan moan. And it's a little gold pin that they wear on their very nice suits. And I love that they wear very nice suits, and you know what I mean? And that business is at the forefront of their organizations, and it's a place where people, maybe you didn't have the opportunity to be a salary man because people didn't rock with you. Well, you can make the same money as a salary man as a Yakuza in a very nice suit with a pen driving somebody. Like, that's beautiful to me. And that's why I said, for me, there are so many different organizations that do community in so many different ways. And I think that you can learn from all of them. But I can't publicly be out here celebrating gang culture. You know what I mean? So yeah, we're really curious to know what you guys think about this conversation. How you feel about it. Do you understand? Anything else you want to talk to me? I'm really happy we had this talk.
I am too. It's kind of, oh my God.
Sorry. There's way more that we can say about it and ways that we can expand on it. But I think this is a good inroad to it for now. Anything you want to toss in there?
I mean, I think this is a good opportunity for people to look at their own communities and, like, just kind of reflect and see, well, is this really serving its purpose and why am I here? Like,
But I think the other reason I think this talk was important is because there's a lot of people that don't know or don't understand. Hey, that's what I'm looking for. This is why my family is so important to me. This is what I want my family to be. This is what I wish we were working towards. And so part of this again was to bring awareness to the community chat, you know? But alright, listen, guys, thank you. We appreciate all the new follows.
so much.
We appreciate our new brothers, the Quito Island Boys. Check them out if you haven't. And we will be behind for sure. Jeff too, I'm sure Jeff behind the scenes. But we'll talk to you guys soon. We really hope you enjoyed this episode. Bye.